Howdy folks, and welcome back to Pecan Ranch. We have a couple of new additions here on the farm, and I want to talk to you folks about those new additions. One in particular is a cute little baby, but we'll talk about the new head of cattle that we've got here first. So we'll see you folks here in 1 second. All right, I'm here running the gauntlet right behind a bunch of cattle that can kick. Friendly note, when you are around cattle, be vigilant. My cattle are pretty gentle and they're not gonna kick me, except maybe Tina, she might. But you gotta know your animals, and but be vigilant anyways, because even if they are gentle and they don't intend to hurt you, they're big animals. And Charlie's like a big giant puppy. He's like a 1,200 pound puppy, and he doesn't really know how big he is, and he may even just stepping on you doesn't feel great to get stepped on. So pay attention. What I want to talk to y'all about is this bashful guy right here. He's a tall boy. His name is Pine, and Pine is 10 months old. He's a big boy, and you can see Penelope, who's she's 2 or 3, and he's taller than her already. And he's still a little standoffish with people. He's only been here for probably less than a month, about 2 or 3 weeks now. Good. Miss Jenny, stop. Don't be so mean to everybody. Let everybody else eat too. You're not the only one out here who has to eat. Miss Jenny gets a little cranky around her food. Anyhow, so Pine, he's keeping an eye on me because he's not sure what I'm gonna do just yet. But so we got him because our freezer is running a little low on beef. What's up, Foxy Fox? How you doing, buddy? This is one of our steers, Fox. He was our bottle calf. And the point of our steers that we have is for beef. That's for our beef consumption here. We have our 4 mama cows, our bull, obviously, who is they're meant for reproduction purposes, and then we have all of our steers. And Miss Jenny getting cranky about her food. So Delta is currently, he's our biggest boy, or was till we got Pine. And Delta is planned to go in the freezer late this year. So we have a bit of a gap in our beef production that we needed to fill. And a buddy of mine who owns a cattle panel business, Aiken Farm and Panel, where I bought my working system and stuff from, he came across a decent deal on a couple of bulls, and he needed to sell one because he was keeping one for himself. He actually wanted to keep him, he's a Holstein, and I convinced him otherwise to let me have him because he'll be ready this summer, so we'll have less of a gap in our meat production. So unfortunately, Pine will be will only get to hang out with us until the summer. But he's doing pretty good, and he's putting on weight, and that's what we want him to do. Now, one thing I will never do is I'm never going to walk between a fixed spot and Miss Jenny, because even though she is super nice and sweet to me, she gets a little cranky while eating, and she may get upset at the cattle and decide to kick, and I don't want to get kicked by a donkey. I value my life a little bit more than that. Don't mind walking behind the cattle as long as they know that I'm here. Except Miss Tina can sneak by her. I don't trust her. Anyhow, so Pine's a new addition. He doesn't follow the typical pattern of our butcher steers, because we have Delta, Echo, and Fox, that were, named subsequently after we had named Charlie, mostly because he looked like a Charlie. And then we named Delta Echo Fox. It would have been inappropriate to name him Golf because he won't be going in that order. And he's got tall, lanky legs like a pine tree, but also there's an inside joke with my buddy about mislabeling things as loblolly pines with his online marketplace postings. He sells trees, and so we decided to name him LL Pine, Loblolly Pine, because the joke was that if he would have listed him, he would have tried selling him as a pine tree. Anyhow, so that's Pine, and this is our herd. Basically, this is my herd size that I want. I want the 4 mama cows, 4 younglings, calves to yearlings to then butcher ready, and then we should be calving soon this spring. So we'll have hopefully 4 more along with it. And this is the herd size that I want, that works great for my land and for my personal meat consumption, and we'll be able to sell a couple to a couple different families to help feed some other families and also cover the cost of our cattle operation. So anyhow, I'm gonna run out back and check on pigs, and then I promise you we're gonna get to meet a baby goat here in a second. So stick with us, and we will go we'll go visit with our little new baby goat here shortly. I'm gonna check on the pigs right quick this morning, make sure their fence is working. Check your fences every day, folks, and it's working. I've mentioned it before many times. You can use a fence tester, but if you have boots that don't ground you too bad, then you don't get shocked too bad, and you can just feel a little static shock. Good morning, piggies. Okay, hello, good morning. All right. Oh, goodness gracious, little girl. She's my little guard pig. She doesn't like it whenever other people, or other pigs, not people, they're pigs, Matt. Whenever other pigs are people too, get too friendly with me, she likes to chase them off. Little Lisa, oh, hey Cream, little Cream, hey, how are you doing? Oh goodness, okay, all right, good morning, piggies. I know, good morning. Yes, I missed you too. We are short 3 pigs because 3 pigs went off to processing. I mean, we have them here on the farm. Well, 2 of them. 1 of them was sold. 2 of them went into our personal freezers. The rest that we are taking, 4 more, will be in a couple months. So we'll have these fine critters here for a little while longer. Cream, what are you doing? But Cream, Cookie over there, the bigger one, and then Bruce / Buddy, the multiple named pig, the boar. Those 3 will remain our breeders, which I'll do a video of that in a little bit to explain my decision. I talked a little bit about it in a previous video, but I'll explain that in further detail about why we decided to start breeding pigs, when I had put a post out saying why we don't breed pigs and why it's a smart decision to not breed pigs depending upon your size. And I'm not going to say that I was wrong then. It's just I was right. It's just, and it may not be right for you either to breed pigs per se, but I will I'll talk about that in another video as to why we made the decision to change. And that's just farming, folks. You need to be ready to be flexible and pivot and change things that best suits your farm, and look at your farm as a whole organism. The animals, the land, everything, it's all one big organism. And so, oh, little Lisa, oh, hello little girl, hello. She's a little silly. So anyhow, I'm gonna finish checking these fences, then we'll go back up front, and I promise you folks, here very, very shortly, you will get to meet the cutest little baby goat in the whole wide world here in 1 second. All right, folks, back up front. I am just about pretty much finished with my chores, and we're gonna go meet Billy. So this weather, right now, Oklahoma in the springtime, it's not really quite spring yet officially, but it's doing this whole will they, won't they story with whether or not Oklahoma's gonna get warm weather consistently. And that plays a little bit of part into the story of our little baby goat, Billy. And why Billy, for a little while, resided in my house. If you're a farmer, just expect that there will be a moment, there will be some time where you may have some random farm animals in your house. And it looks like I'm not 100% done with my chores. I gotta fill that hay feeder. So we've met the goats before. That's Barbara, Reba, and Dolly. There's Dolly right there, the most cantankerous little ornery goat that there is. And Miss Becky here had babies. And this, my fine friend, is little Billy. How you doing, little Billy? How you doing, buddy? How you doing? Oh yes, you want to say hello to the camera? You're a sweetie. You're just a sweetie, aren't you, little Billy? Billy Ray is his name. Come here. Oh, this is Billy Ray. How you doing, Billy Ray? Miss Becky, I'm not taking him away. Don't worry, you'll get your baby back in a second. So little Billy was born just a little over 2 weeks ago today. And Miss Becky here decided to have her babies on the coldest day of the week. I think that night it was like 17 degrees, and we had a high of like 25 that day. And oh, this is not a comfortable seat. Let me sit on my milking stand. So unfortunately, when I got out in the morning right at sunrise, one of her babies was already dead and frozen. So, but Billy remained and he was alive. And our plan with the goats is we are keeping them as milk goats. And so we were going to keep any of the does that she had, if she had any doelings. And the one that died was in fact a doeling. The plan originally was if any of our goats have little baby bucklings, we would be likely selling them. And just keeping females on the farm. However, that's kind of changed. Remember I was talking about remaining flexible? Because the time invested already and in Billy, and so he was doing fine in the morning. However, there were some complications, and by complications I mean Becky wasn't really producing colostrum yet, and it would have been probably okay had it been warmer weather. He would have been fine, would have probably eventually got that much needed colostrum, and we wouldn't have had any issues. However, we kept checking on him every couple hours. He's doing okay, but it was just so cold that day, and Becky had gotten up and was going about doing her thing, and she wasn't right next to him to keep him warm with her body heat. And she's also a first-time mom, so she hadn't quite figured out this whole mom thing yet. So my wife had gone out, and it was a cold day. I mean, it was super cold. My pigs started getting hypothermia. I had to take care of them. I mean, I had to bring them out a round bale so that way they could get in and get warm, because they were acting real lethargic, some of my smaller pigs. And my wife came out and checked, and I'm sitting on the couch. I was about done for the day. It was the afternoon. I was just relaxing, thought my day was done. She comes in holding the goat, says he's dying. So now we get to spring to action. This is just farming, folks. You may think that you are going to have a little relaxing day and you're done for the day, and then the animals are going to have other plans for you. Nature's going to have other plans for you, and you're going to have to get back to work. And so that's what we had to do. We had to warm him up. He was hypothermic and had not gotten a chance to feed yet. And it's very critical the baby goats get that colostrum typically within hours. They don't, a lot of times there are cases where they won't survive if they don't get that colostrum within hours. We thought that he was nursing. Turns out he wasn't really. So he wasn't getting calorie intake, and it was really cold, and so he was unresponsive, just laying there, and would occasionally let out a very weak cry, and he was almost dead. And so we got him by the fire, put him on a heating pad, tried warming him up. We needed to warm him up faster, so we ran a hot bath and laid him, put him in the water with his, obviously keeping his head above water so he can breathe, because he couldn't hold his own head up. And just kind of held him there for what seemed like forever. I think it was more like 20-30 minutes, and he started becoming responsive again. Started moving his head a little bit, but he couldn't quite stand. He was weak. So we got him all dried up, nice and dry. He really enjoyed the hair dryer that my wife was using to dry him off. And then we, fortunately, in preparation for having baby goats for the kidding season, we had already bought some colostrum replacement and some nipples and bottles and stuff for the goats, which is something you need to do. If you have animals that are going to be giving birth soon, you need to have a means of feeding the babies, hand feeding them, bottle feeding them if necessary, because you never know what's going to happen. The mom may not be able to produce milk for some reason, or she may have more babies than she can produce milk for. It's a possibility. Nigerian dwarf goats have been known to have more than 2 kids, and they can really only produce milk for about 2, maybe 3 if they're a real good milk producer. But most likely, if they have more than 2, you're going to be feeding 1. So we started syringe feeding him because he wasn't doing well on a bottle. He was still very weak, and we got some colostrum in him, and which is that first milking that lets down when a mama has their babies. They first produce colostrum, which is basically like a high nutrient dense a form of milk that also helps kind of kickstart their immune system as well. And so we got that in him, and the next day he was doing a lot better. He started standing and kind of sort of walking around, and we kept him in the house for a few days, and we were hand feeding him, and then he got strong again and was able to walk around on his own like he's doing now. And it would still get cold at night, so we would bring him out in the day. We'd milk Miss Becky here, and then we'd let him hang out in the day when it was warmer and stay with mom. And he was nursing off of her really good, so we let him nurse throughout the day off of her, and then we bring him in at night. And we didn't have to feed him. We didn't have to bottle feed him anymore, and so he's doing great now. It was kind of harrowing at first, but we've invested a lot of time in him, and there's a high probability that we're probably going to keep him on the farm as one of our breeding stock, just because we've grown quite attached to him. He would sit with us inside to stay warm. Farmer proverb for the day: if you raise animals on a farm, don't be surprised if you find yourself watching TV with a goat. So, but that's kind of the story behind Billy Ray. He's doing really good now. He's a great cute little addition to our farm, and I think he's going to grow up to be a handsome man, aren't you? Aren't you, little Billy? Are you hiding from the camera? Billy! Hey, Miss Becky. This is a milking stand, by the way. Quick video, or a quick kind of description of this. I built this from scraps that we had. We used to have an old rabbit tractor that we used to move our rabbits around back when we lived in the city. And when we raised them in our backyard, we'd move them onto fresh grass before we had a large enough pen where they could just kind of roam free. And it didn't have a purpose anymore. And to save money on materials, I decided to just take that apart and put this together. Pretty simple concept. You need something that is up off of the ground a little ways, especially with dwarf goats. They're very short, and so it's easier whenever you are milking them, especially if you have to hand milk them. We have a milker, and that works great, but just in case you need to hand milk for whatever reason, you'll be sitting here dealing with milking, and you don't want to have to hunch over or anything like that. So build it at the height appropriate for you. Give them a nice ramp to climb up, and then a place to put feed in the front with a head gate. And this, they come in here, we'll eat out of that, and we just close this head gate, and then I'll place a pin through this hole here, like such, and it can't open up, and so it doesn't hurt them or anything. And you want, if you're building one, you want to make sure that the dimensions are correct for your goat. Make sure that it's not going to squeeze their neck too much, but it is tight enough to where they can't pull their head back if they get distracted, because you don't want to kick over your, you don't want them to kick over your can and lose all of that precious goat's milk, which we are now getting a substantial amount. The plan wasn't to be milking her this early, and so I had to kind of rush to put this together. The plan was to let her nurse her babies, and then after we weaned them, we would continue milking her to harvest her milk. However, with only one kid, she's producing too much milk, more milk than what he can consume. Oh, goodness gracious, Dolly. She's producing more milk than what he could consume. So in order to prevent her from being uncomfortable and being engorged, we milk her once a day. Once these wean, we will be milking her twice a day. In the meantime, we have plenty of goat's milk now, so that way we can use it for creamer in our coffee. That's great. Just use it as milk, but also we're going to be making goat soap, goat cheese, things of that nature out of the milk. So that is Billy. That is the update on the goats. He's doing really well. The goats are doing really well. The weather's starting to warm up just a little bit. Pastures are starting to turn a little green, and I can't wait for spring to kick off. It's going to be busy, but I am done with this cold weather. So if you would like to not miss any of our videos, please subscribe and keep up to date with what's going on here in the farm. And next time I'll bring you all a video about a watering system that I put together for my small livestock, and explain the purpose behind it, how I put it together, and why I have it set up the way that I do. So until the next time, folks, we will see you all back at the ranch.